I'm Debra Lee Baldwin, author of 3 books about succulents and how to use them in gardens, landscapes, and containers. See, succulents are unusual in this, that the plants crest. Cresting is when the growth happens along a line. And it can be kind of serpentine or arced, but it happens pretty much along a line. Sometimes it even looks like a smile. Actually, no two crests are exactly alike. The other interesting formation that these plants will make is called Monstrose. And that's what you're seeing here in this Cereus Forbesii Ming thing. That's the cultivar name. Now, this is one that you seldom see in its normal form. I mean, even the new growth, sometimes it'll revert, a crest will revert or Monstrose will revert. But this is one that is almost always sold and seen as a Monstrose plant. Now, what's the difference between cresting and Monstrose? Well, Monstrose growth is much more lumpy and it looks like it's been extruded, almost as though it were lava that had been pushed up out of the ground and congealed. They make absolutely wonderful potted specimens, and surprisingly, they do well in gardens and landscapes. Sometimes, though, you also see crests and Monstrose together on the same plant, and that's just really cool. Collectors are mad for these. They're becoming more and more available. They often get misnamed by different nurseries and online sources, so I am super careful with my nomenclature. The Monstrose form of this, Mammillaria, gracilis, fragilis, monstrosus. Don't worry, I have a gallery on my site that has all of these labeled, and you can go there, enjoy looking at them, and find out their names. Not all multi-headed succulents are Monstrose. When I asked an expert if this was a Monstrose form of Lophophora williamsi, commonly called peyote, he said, no, just a colony. You're about to see other crested and Monstrose specimens I've run across at shows, nurseries, and gardens. Once you start noticing them, you'll see them everywhere. By the end of this video, you'll be able to spot crested and Monstrose succulents, and you may even have a pretty good idea what kind of succulent it is. This is a crested and Monstrose aeonium sunburst. Fasciation is when growth cells flatten and form what looks like a fan. These often are fringed with leaves that are smaller and more crowded than those on the corresponding normal plant. This crested sunburst suggests a bow a bride might wear in her hair. When cresting or Monstrose growth happens in nature, it tends to get overwhelmed by normal growth, which is more vigorous. Most growers and collectors will remove normal or reverted stems, so the energy of the plant goes into the crest. Personally, I like seeing some normal growth with a crest because it helps me figure out what it is. This Medusa euphorbia at a cactus and succulent show is Euphorbia flanaganii. It's not uncommon in its crested form, but those of this size are seldom seen outside of shows. Like Mammillarias, crested Medusa euphorbias often look like they're smiling. Here's another that looks pleased with itself, Euphorbia inermis. Much of the appeal of crested and Monstrose succulents is how they look like geologic formations, undersea plants, or body parts. This is crested Opuntia microdacis, and how it looks in the gallery on my site. It's fun to spot a crest. I happened across this delightful crest in a nursery's growing grounds. I love how it looks like a paw. I saw this Espostoa lanata at Desert Theater Nursery in Escondido, California. Don't you love a cactus with attitude? Espostoa lanata also has altitude. It's native to the Andes Mountains of Peru and Ecuador. Hair-like white fibers protect it from cold and intense rays. No one knows for sure what causes tissues to bunch up, but what is known is that rather than having a single growth point, meristem cells crowded together. Yes, this is all the same plant. This magnificent stand is the cactus Echinopsis pachanoi, formerly Trichocereus pachanoi. Like the Echinopsis, I suspect that this one was planted a decade or more ago. They've now attained a size seldom seen in nurseries. You're looking at a kind of cholla, commonly called boxing glove cactus. Did you notice its normal, crested, and monstrose formations? At Oasis Nursery, and look who I ran across, Laura Eubanks, and she was saying, you've got to get this crested variegated Cenolucier, fantastic. And I'd never seen it before, so what's wonderful about it?
Well, I was gifted one of these about a year ago and told to put it in my garden stack. So I did, and to this day, it still looks like this. It hasn't lost its color, it hasn't bloomed out, it hasn't grown that much. It just sits there and looks fantastic. It's in the ground, it gets a little bit of protection from the hottest part of the day, lots of morning sun, some afternoon, but not in the latest parts. But what impresses me so much about this is it has seasoned in the garden for an entire year, and the plant didn't even so much as wince.
Thank you, Laura.
Love you.
Love you too. Crested and Monstrose succulents can appear so different from their normal counterparts, you can't tell what the plant is. This is commonly called monkey tail cactus, which is covered with soft white spines. It's hard to believe that its crested version is hairless. This one is hard to believe too. The Monstrose version is commonly seen in Arizona gardens, Lophocereus schotii, or totem pole cactus. Here's another, no way, Mammillaria bocasana and its adorable button-like Monstrose version, Fred. This is Echinopsis lageniformis, formerly Trichocereus bridgesii. No doubt it's obvious to you what it looks like. An eel with a mustache. And if you're wondering if good old booby cactus is the monstrose form of something, well, yes it is. Its name also makes me blush. Let's see if I can say it. Myrtillocactus geometrizans Fakuro Kuri Uzen Boku. That's Fakuro Kuri Uzen Boku. This is Mammillaria elongata, commonly called ladyfinger cactus. The cristate version is commonly called brain cactus. I had a crested specimen that rotted, but I didn't know that until I brushed against the plant and it fell over. Despite being hollow inside, it had kept its convoluted shape. To get crests to grow more rapidly, propagators may graft cuttings onto a hardy rootstock that feeds it. The downside is that a crest will eventually outgrow the graft, which then must be redone. Crests that contain chlorophyll stand a better chance than those that don't. Chlorophyll is the green pigment that plants use to convert sunlight into energy in order to grow and thrive. So, crests that are light colors or streaked are not as strong and tend not to last as long. Cleistocactus is a genus of fuzzy, cylindrical succulents that glow beautifully when backlit. The common name for Cleistocactus orispina is golden rat-tail. I saw this 4-foot-tall crested and monstrose Cleistocactus in a nursery in Arizona. A seashell container repeats the curve of a Cleistocactus crest, and the pot's glaze is the same bronzy gold of the spines. One of a colony of Cleistocactus straussii seems to consider whether it wants to be monstrose or not. Monstrose forms of Cleistocactus strozii have long, shiny, silvery white spines. You can barely see the green of the plant underneath. Flowers are rare to non-existent on Crested and Monstrose succulents. The blooms on this specimen are on reverted growth. So when you do see a succulent that's not only in bloom, but has an amazing crested flower, you need to stop and admire it. If you see growth that looks like pleated fabric, you may be looking at Euphorbia kibuazensis. There's special care involved in these crested succulents right in that area. There's some bleaching of the skin of the plant, and that's from sunburn. This echinopsis in my garden started dying on one side from sunburn. The tissue turned yellow, and I was afraid I'd lose the plant. It's turning back to green, and there's even new growth, possibly stimulated by the damage. Succulents truly are survivors. Crests should be checked regularly for infestations. Thrips, mealybugs, and scale need to be treated quickly lest they get out of hand. See my site's Pests and Problems page for more info. Take care not to overwater a crested or monstrose succulent because they're more vulnerable to rot. Otherwise, give them pretty much the same growing conditions as the normal version of the plant. Find additional information in the video description and on the corresponding page of my site, which includes a gallery of over 80 crested and monstrose succulents alongside normal specimens. My goal is to inspire you to enjoy using succulents in fun and creative ways in your own garden and outdoor living spaces. I'm Debra Lee Baldwin. Thank you for joining me.